In 1992, a cinematic giant was released. The film covered war, duty, honor, and the greatest game ever played. I was 9 when I first saw A League of Their Own. And for the past 19 years, my admiration for this film has only grown. Now, for those of you who are a little rusty on your A League of Their Own knowledge, I'll bring you up to speed here. So the film, it was directed by Penny Marshall, and it is the fictional account of the real-life All-American Girls Baseball League's first season in 1943. The two central characters are a pair of sisters who are extremely competitive and talented. The older sister, Dottie Henson, is played by Gina Davis. All right. She plays the catcher. She is the star of the league. They call her the Queen of Diamonds. And then there's the little sister, Kit Keller, who is played by Lori Petty. She's the pitcher and is notorious for always swinging and almost always missing the high fastballs. So the film culminates in the World Series game, and it is the Rockford Peaches versus the Racine Bells. But really, it's Dottie versus Kit. It's the final inning, and Kit is up to bat, and Dottie is catching. Kit hits a high fastball deep into outfield and runs around all the bases, slams into her sister Dottie at home plate, causing Dottie to drop the ball, and Kit wins the game for her team and the World Series. So that's what we're dealing with here. And for those of you thinking to yourselves, I haven't seen the movie and you just ruined it for me, you've had 2 decades. Now, as a kid, I remember being able to relate to so much about this film. I just thought it was so cool. The players wore these little dresses that were more like figure skating uniforms than they are baseball uniforms. And then there were the baseball game montages. It was the early 90s, after all. And then the music was done by Madonna, who was also in the film. It was great. I really, really wanted to be one of these sassy and courageous women when I grew up. Well, really, I just wanted to be Kit Keller. So to me, I was a younger sister too, and I was able to identify with Kit. I thought that she was the protagonist, and the movie was about a younger sister trying to make a name for herself and come out of the shadow of her older, more accomplished sibling. I didn't even think there might be a different interpretation of this film until college. And that's when I realized there are 2 types of people. There are Kit people, and there are Dottie people. Now, Dottie people, and some of you might be Dottie people, please keep that to yourselves. Dottie people seem to believe that Dottie drops the ball on purpose and throws the game for her team out of sisterly love, maybe, just to let her little sister win. They're 2 incredibly competitive people, and I just do not buy this argument at all. What was more distressing to me was to realize that my very good friend, Gina Tarullo, was as much a Dottie person as I was a Kit person. Our arguments became more and more contentious, and we would not give up. Fast forward a couple years, and we're out of college, and I returned from living abroad for a year. I'm visiting Gina Tarullo in Chicago, and we have a lot of catching up to do. But instead, we decided to talk about the ball. So we go over our well-worn arguments, and we decide to go straight to the source. We make up an organization. Our name is called the Institute for Accuracy and Athletic Portrayals, or YAP. And we compose this letter around 1 a.m. All right. Dear Ms. Petty, as the Institute for Accuracy and Athletic Portrayals, we are currently preparing for an upcoming panel discussion on the integrity of athletic representation in film as part of our annual conference, American Sports and the Arts. We would very much like to feature A League of Their Own in this discussion, but contention surrounding this film has arisen within the organization. Controversy surrounds the pivotal moment during which sisters Kit Keller and Dottie Henson collide at home plate, determining the outcome of the World Series. More specifically, we cannot come to a unanimous conclusion regarding Dottie's last-minute release of the ball. Did she consciously let go in order to give Kit a moment in the spotlight? Or did Kit hurl herself into Dottie and thereby into greatness with such force that Dottie was incapable of holding on? As you can see, it is absolutely critical that we resolve this issue in the name of accuracy in fictional athletics. In this historic Olympic year, it was 2008, our organization has an exceptional opportunity to enhance awareness and promote athletic integrity through entertainment. Any insight you can afford us would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for your time and consideration in this matter. Sincerely, Lauren Knapp, President. So, that is the email we wrote, and the next day I sent it to Lori Petty. It actually wasn't hard to find her email address. And within 40 minutes, I get a response. Oh my God, Lori Petty just wrote me back. Oh my God, we're gonna be best friends. And she totally has my back on this one. I know it. So here's what she has to say. Hi, Lauren. That question will never be answered. Of course, Gina Davis believes that she let go of the ball out of love for her sister, knowing that she, Dottie, is retiring to be with her family, giving Kit a leg up. Of course, I believe that Kit's talent and will won the game after years of toiling in her sister's shadow. Director Penny Marshall says that the audience can decide for themselves. I guess there's no truth but that of the individual and that of the audience. It's not written in stone anywhere. It's meant for the audience to decide. Thanks, XXX, Lori. Thanks, Lori. That was not helpful at all. So we let it lie for a little bit. That is until this past spring, when I had the opportunity to meet Ms. Gina Davis, a.k.a. Dottie, the Queen of Diamonds Hinson. She was going to be speaking at a conference I was attending for work in Florida. And she was going to be talking about her institute that does research on film and girls' roles in television and film. Guess what, Gina Davis? I have an institute, too. So I brought my A League of Their Own DVD to Florida with me and watched it alone in my hotel room the night before, just to prepare. And maybe it was the adrenaline or the free wine from the conference or the emotional roller coaster that is A League of Their Own. But I was a total wreck. I started crying 2/3 of the way through, which is my usual breaking point, by the way. But I'm always able to, get it back together. I did not stop until the end of the credits. It was a little crazy. So, the next day, I am within feet of Gina Davis. And she is tall, and she's gorgeous. She's in Mensa. She's an archer. I, on the other hand, have cry eyes left over from the night before. So I decide to start easy and ease into my interrogation. And I say, Gina, it's so nice to meet you. I've been a huge fan of A League of Their Own. It's completely changed my life. And I go on, and she's extremely gracious. And then I say, I just need to ask you one thing. And she looks at me like, there's always got to be one. And I say, do you know what I'm going to ask? And she says, is it about a ball? Yes, I just need to know, does Dottie drop it on purpose, or is Kit just a badass and she just wants it more? And she looks at me and says, I've never answered that question. When we were filming, we just didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. We didn't think the audience would really care why she dropped the ball, just that she drops the ball. Hold on. You didn't think anyone would care? It changes the entire meaning of the film. It changes everything. So I collect myself and I decide not to argue with an Oscar winner. And I say, well, maybe you've saved a few friendships here today. And she looks confused, and we part ways. And she is barely out of sight when I whip out my cell phone and I call my good friend Gina Tarullo on the phone, and I tell her everything that happens. And she tells me, well, that is unacceptable, and you need to turn around and get an answer out of Gina Davis right now. Well, I decide not to, because you have to draw a line at some point. So that's where we stand. Gina Tarullo is every bit a Dottie person, and I am totally a Kit person. And we are both a little worried about each other's naivete. But, you know, maybe Lori Petty and Gene Davis were right. I mean, maybe it is best not to know. I am totally 100% sure that Kit won that game fair and square. But what if she didn't? Maybe it's just best to let it lie. Unless I run into Penny Marshall in the near future. Thank you.